Is it a surprise that we don't want competing gospels to be as authoritative when they were written 100 years later?
The evidence shows that there were writings that were suppressed, but the key point is that the vast majority of these documents were written much later than the New Testament material, long after the times of the eyewitnesses.
There's no doubt that when Christians came on the scene and the forces that represented orthodoxy did win a political, sociological battle, there's no doubt that that's part of what these councils were about, was to affirm what Christianity was and to make clear what Christianity was not. And that did include with it some effort to suppress the circulation of documents that fell outside the bounds of orthodoxy. But that doesn't change the nature of the record that we have in the earlier centuries. And the key part of this discussion is not about what happened in the 4th century. The key part of this discussion is what happened in the 1st and 2nd centuries.
Furthermore, we have historical assurance that the books in the New Testament contain the earliest teachings of the Christian Church. One example is the conversion of the Apostle Paul from Christ hater to Christ worshiper.
The earliest writings that we have from a Christian are from Paul. He's writing in the 50s. Not only that, but he relates his experience in the 30s.
Biblical scholars believe that Paul, writing in the 50s AD, passes on a saying that had already attained the status of a church creed in 1 Corinthians 15.
It says, I pass on to you what also was passed on to me. The language of passing on is the language of tradition, passing on tradition.
For I delivered to you first of all that which I also received, that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he rose again the 3rd day according to the Scriptures.
All the essential elements of what is Christianity that he writes about in the 50s, within 20 years of the events of Jesus, have to be in place for that conversion to take place. So we know that we're backed up right up against the time when Jesus actually came.
Because of the direct connection between the New Testament books and the apostles, as well as their early dating and correspondence with what the living eyewitnesses knew to be true about Jesus Christ, many scholars believe we can be confident that the Bible we have contains the best, most accurate material, all of the books that God inspired to testify to Jesus Christ and his mission.
We ended up with the collection of what best represents a summation of the faith once and for all delivered to the saints, as one of the books of the New